question in regards to the video. Well, let's see, we're supposed to pick an issue, right?
Yeah.
Oh my word. I don't know what that is. Okay. Does anyone have the one that they want to talk about?
Yeah, I can go first. So for mine, I picked Social Security just because I didn't really know much about it. And so from what I read and what I understand, the government got involved into Social Security because after the Depression, the people were really poor, especially the elderly, and they couldn't work. And so they felt like they didn't have any options and they didn't have a fund or anything. And so they really wanted the government to get involved. They asked for it like repeatedly, and then finally the government like made some plans, and it came into effect with Roosevelt. And has it been effective? I don't know. I feel like it helps because elderly do have a security, but at the same time, we've learned helplessness, and everyone just wants to retire so they can get a handout. And a lot of people, like I talked about in the video, are getting Social Security, but they're not contributing to taxes for it. And so it's making our economy go down. And so, I don't know. I I feel like we have to have Social Security, but maybe we don't. I don't know if you guys know much about Social Security or what you guys think.
No, I don't really know much about Social Security, to be honest. But kind of the things you talked about were like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that. The other thing I think is one of the problems, at least what I've heard, is that a lot of people plan to have Social Security support them after they retire, whereas from what I understand, it's supposed to be more of a supplement to your
Right.
retirement plans. It's not supposed to, like, you should be planning for your retirement. You should be investing or saving or whatever so that you can have an income or money when you retire, not just, oh, I'll have Social Security. It's not meant to completely support your living. So I think that could be a problem too.
Yeah, right. And he also talked about in the video, kind of about that, how it's kind of the same process that was set up in like the 30s or the 50s, and how times have really changed since then. Like people live longer and they retire earlier, whereas in the past people worked until they practically died, and then people only lived until like 60, whereas if you retire now when you're 60, you still have 40 more years of living, and you're retired, and you're just getting a ton of money that you didn't put as much into. And so it's just like he talked about, robbing the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting the way that he talked about that. That we used to borrow money for the future, but now we're taking it from the future. And I thought that was a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because, we're getting so much in debt as a nation. It gets worse and worse, and it seems like there's like no way out of it.
Yeah. Well, and he talked about how back in, I don't remember when, 1935 or something, that Dale Carnegie could have written a check and paid off the national debt. And that now if Bill Gates wrote a check, it wouldn't even, what was it, wouldn't even pay the interest or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Sad and
Yeah.
scary. Because who knows what is going to happen when China or all the people we borrowed from want their money back. We're going to be slaves or what? I don't know.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be a very good situation. What topic did you do, Lauren?
I kind of focused on the education he's talking about. Um, let's see. Just, it felt like, I don't know if this was just me, but it kind of felt like Bush was really involved in education.
Yeah.
Um, well, because I felt like he like referred to him a couple of times, and
Yeah, with the No
then
Child Left Behind.
yeah, and that's like I feel like it's one of the biggest ones. I know there's like other uh acts, I guess, but one thing I noticed was that um yeah, the No Child Left Behind, and it seemed like I wrote down, he said schools that can't teach. I was thinking about when I was in high school, how they didn't. It seemed you could tell the difference between the teachers that cared and the ones that didn't,
Yeah.
and so it's like they need. I felt like I don't know. It seems like it'd be a good thing to have the government involved, but then it's so much to cover that they can't uh, focus on everybody.
Yeah, well, I think you're right about like it seems like it would be a good thing for the government to be involved. But the thing that's hard, I think it would be a good thing for the government to be involved if they were doing it right, which I don't
Yeah.
know what the right answer is. So that's hard to say, and that's probably part of the problem is that nobody knows what the best way is. But like it would be great to have someone in charge and someone, I don't know, making everything better. But I think that's all ideally, but it doesn't always, it rarely works out that way. I'm not sure if any of that just made sense, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like that Title 9 or something like that, where it was trying to get rid of the discrimination of like females have to take home economics and males have to take workshop or auto
hmm
mechanic or whatever. And I remember when I was in school, like I think I was in seventh grade, I was taking home ec, and there was like it was just mixed with everyone. So I just can't even imagine you're just in a class just with females or males or whatever the whole time, because that's what you're expected to do.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the school system has a lot of problems personally. When I was an education major earlier, I hated the government. I just feel like they were just so involved in everything, and so we kind of talked about this on the video, but with No Child Left Behind, I mean, all No Child Left Behind was put more emphasis on teachers, and that whether they get funding or get fired depends upon how their children do, like the scores they get. But there was no standardized score or assessment, so it did make people dumber almost because like in Mississippi, for instance, and other states, the standards were so low that everyone was doing great, but they weren't really learning anything because they were like super low. Anyway, and then they came out with the Common Core, Obama did, and so he tried to standardize everything, but the problem is one size doesn't fit all for children or for education. Anyway, and so I think the government's heart is in the right place. They want children to be educated, but really they're putting so much on external rewards that, like, I don't know, I feel like I hated school when I was in high school and middle school because we weren't having fun. It was all teaching towards the state test.
hmm
Anyway, so I think they should give more power over to the states back, and that there shouldn't be an emphasis on grades because grades really don't mean anything, especially if there's not a standard that's the same for everyone.
No, I think you're right, but I think part of the problem is because I think you're right about that it's focused on like the results and the external instead of the internal, like the actual learning. But I think it's probably because it's easy to measure test scores. It's hard to
Right.
measure how much someone's learned. And so I think that's part of the problem. Is like you said, like everyone's intentions are good, hopefully, and they want education to be improved. They want children to learn. They want to have an educated nation. But how do you do that? And I think oh, sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, I was going to say, it was this class, right, where we had to watch that 45-minute video where, all about, like, how it's stupid in America. Wasn't it this class?
I've seen that video, but it wasn't this class.
Oh, okay, well, I
It was
guess.
Family 460, I think.
Oh, okay, so this one kid cannot read. He was 18 years old, and he could only read on a first grade level. And the mom was so concerned, but the school didn't care. And she had to went to Sylvan Learning Center, and like within maybe like a month, maybe, I don't know, or a week or a month or something like that, he raised up like 3 grade levels just because they actually cared and put in the effort.
Yeah.
And then his own school they were just like making excuses. Oh, I haven't really met with him or whatever. Then why are you working there if you're not helping?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that, the problem with education, I mean, first of all, like the guy talked about, it's a government job, so it's not really helping. People aren't self-motivated. There's no self-autonomy. But secondly, the rate is so low for teachers. Who wants to be a teacher? Like, I don't know, usually either people that really want to make a difference or people that are like, whatever, I guess I'll be a teacher. And so I think you can't just like put all this pressure on teachers, whereas the pay is so low. Who wants to do it? So you need to have highly qualified teachers, as in maybe they need to get master's degrees or or PhDs, and they need to, I don't know, up the pay by like 10
Wow.
times or something.
Seriously. No, I think
And
that
then
might
I
help as
think they would
well.
care more. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Cami.
Well, I think that's a great idea because then, like you said, they will care. And right now, I mean, I think most teachers are awesome people who want to make a difference, but there are a lot of teachers who just don't care and who I think probably get weighed down by all of the crap that they have to go through and they have to deal with and they have to put up with, that it's not worth it. It's really not worth caring and going the extra mile and doing everything that you can because you're not compensated for it. But, yeah. Okay, well, for mine, I researched about the early saints, the pioneers, and how they interacted with the government, particularly when they left Missouri because of the extermination order. But pretty much everywhere they went, they were run out by local governments. The question was it effective? Like, kind of made me laugh because I guess it just depends on what you mean by effective. Like,
Yeah.
the extermination order, was it effective at getting the Mormons out of the state? Well, yeah, but like, probably not the best method of handling it. But that was kind of, I guess, though, more historically. When Utah joined the Union, became a state, I think the church and at least the federal government kind of made their peace, and things have been pretty good since, I think. But I think currently in our society is not so much our church, but religion and the government that I kind of broadened it to. And that's a whole nother big, messy thing that I don't know the answer to with like religious freedom and discrimination and those kinds of issues. So, yeah, I don't know what the government could be doing to help the situation more, but
Yeah, well, I feel like they could uphold maybe the Constitution. I don't know. I feel like there's all these laws that say, oh, we can't do this because of the atheists, or we can't do this because it's opposing on people. But I feel like it's opposing on me because,
Yeah.
hello, my religion says that I can't do this or I don't want to do this. So, no, I don't want to take pictures of your, like, gay wedding or whatever. But no, because that's discrimination anyway. And so it just really bothers me because I'm like, okay, so they have their freedom, but what about my freedom? But
Yeah.
I just,
It's so weird. I don't know why it's like that. But
yeah.
I mean, they choose to be homosexual, but we choose to believe in God and Christ. So, but I mean, that's what we believe. Why can't that be okay?
Right. And it's just like there's so many. I feel like I don't know. I kind of feel like this isn't really a straightforward issue with religious freedom right now. That it's not just black and white. There's a lot of different levels to it, and there's my freedom versus their freedom, and well, what religious beliefs are okay, because I mean, it can't be 100% that, you know what I mean? Like if I say, oh, my religion says that I don't believe in, stoplights, like, well, that's not okay. You know what I mean? Like, so where do you
right.
draw the line on what your religious exemptions? And so I think it's so gray right now and everyone has different opinions on where that line should be. But
Right. I don't know, yeah. I feel like it's hard because people that don't have religion do have to have a voice too, but I feel like, I don't know, in the past we didn't oppose or oppress other people. I'm just confused how it's gotten so bad, I guess, and how it was upheld so well in the past. I don't know what the problem is, but
yeah. Shall we go on?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Dr. Will cites a problem that no one wants to talk about. How is this issue impacting children and families, communities, and our nation? Sister Meeker posted about the problem that nobody wants to talk about. And to be honest, I'm not really sure.
Oh yeah, I watched it. But no.
yeah. I feel like I I don't really know if this is right, but I wrote, was it, I don't know, that I feel like it's the entitlement that people want to live their high lifestyle without working for it. But I don't know if
Oh
that's
yeah, when he talked about um how we want, like, if he talked about healthcare, like we want this awesome healthcare, but we don't want to pay for it.
right.
Yeah.
And I think the same like with Social Security, we want to retire and have lots of money, but we don't want to pay any taxes. And
We want the benefits without the costs.
right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I just,
Oh,
no, sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
I was just gonna say, if that's the case, it's impacting. Like we kind of said earlier, you're taking money from the future. Like, you want to work, or you don't want to work, but you want to get paid. And all that money is going to go, some of the money, I guess, is going to go to them. But what about the kids that are learning right now? It's just not going toward their education, it's going toward their retirement.
Mm-hmm. I think another way that it affects families is I think that attitude goes through to families. That parents want their children to be happy and smart and successful, but they don't want to do the parenting. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
with helicopter parenting in schools, like, they want their kids to get good grades, but if their kid doesn't score well, they're going to go and complain that the teacher didn't teach it good enough or whatever, instead of, or I don't know, if the kid's acting out or whatever, they don't take responsibility themselves. They want someone else to fix it.
Right. I see a lot in our generation. I feel like, I don't know, that it's that we shouldn't be poor, period. And so I feel like college students feel like they have to have the car and the TV and the nice things instead of being like, I can't afford this right now, I'm going to go without. It's like, oh no, I'll just put it on the credit card or I'll just take out another student loan. And so I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's just really what our generation is, the instant gratification. I need it now, and I want what my parents have, even though they were really poor to begin with, but now they're well off after like 50 years or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
We're getting more into like the sandwich families where the children, after they get married, they have to move back because
Oh yeah.
whatever, one reason or another, but it's because they want to live that life. They want to live the life like their parents, but they can't. So
They want
either,
to live like a 40 or 50 or 60-year-old when they're 20.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's no bueno. Doesn't work. Um, According to Dr. Will, one thing, can I just pause real quick? I feel like every time I say Dr. Will, I think it's like his first name. Like, that's weird by doctor first name, but it's his last name. Okay. According to Dr. Will, one thing you can do for your country is reserve a spacious portion of your life for which your country is not responsible. Reflect on what you've learned and discussed this week, and then respond to the following. Do you agree with Dr. Will?
Absolutely, for my part.
Yeah?
I do, yeah.
In fact, I would say for the most part, like most of your life, your country shouldn't be responsible for your life. I don't know, that's like, you should be responsible for your own life. I think it's like kind of the way that ideally it's set up with Social Security. Yeah, when you're old, you can't work, you can't take care of yourself. Then the country that you spent your whole life helping to build and helping to pay for with like taxes and stuff, yeah, then I think it's great that they would give back to help you out, but I don't know. For
I
the
think,
most part, yeah, go ahead.
actually, yeah, I don't necessarily agree, but I also don't think, yeah, you need to be responsible for yourself, but when you're working in this country and somehow something goes wrong and it's not really your fault, maybe, yeah, the country could help you out. But I wouldn't say, I'd say it's like 75, 15% kind of thing.
That's a good point, and I think that's true, that an exception occurs if, like, if you're on disability or whatever, that you can't, that you're unable to. Same thing for, like, when you're old, like, you are no longer able to do those things for yourself, then yeah, I absolutely agree. Um, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like in the scriptures, I can't remember where, maybe I'm making it up, but that they all helped to take care of each other, and people who have a lot help those who have little. And I mean,
The law
that's
of
easier said than
consecration.
done. Exactly. That, when you're not able to take care of yourself, that those who have plenty can help take care of you. And if you've got lots more than you need, then you can, give and help. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that we depend on the government way too much, and I've seen it with my brother in law. He's in the army, and now that he's in the army and the government's giving him money, he's like, I feel like the government owns him. He couldn't go on Christmas vacation. He can't go see his family. He can't like leave the premises, or he's MIA. Like he can't do anything without the government stamp of approval. Like, okay, you can do that. And I don't know, I feel like it's scary to get so involved or rely so heavily on the government, because do you want them to own you? I don't. And just like the CRC that we learned about last week, I feel like there's a line, like parents should have the sole responsibility for their children, period. Whereas CRC wanted to give the government the sole responsibility and be able to give children their freedom because the government knows better than parents. I think the government should be there to protect our rights and to make sure laws, bills, ordinances, all those things aren't made to I don't know, to take away our freedom or to take away our rights, but I don't think that they should control us, because once we're getting a check from them, I feel like they're empowering us, or once we put our children in Head Start, then we have to have them, and I just think that's dangerous. I don't know, communism or totalitarianism. I don't know. I feel like there's so many bad things that could happen if we give the government so much control, but maybe I'm just a little skeptical.
I think that's a good point. Kind of like with what Dr. Will was saying about checks and balances in the government, that the founding fathers didn't want a government that was all powerful, but that was, I don't know, that was kind of reminding me of that. In what areas do you personally feel that the government should be involved and should not be involved in addressing your chosen threat to families and children? Children and families. My threat is domestic violence. And personally, I feel that the government should be pretty involved in that. That I think government agencies to help women and children or victims of abuse are extremely valuable and important, and that there should be strict laws regarding domestic violence. I don't know. I think that would be a good thing for the government to be involved in, because I think if the government doesn't, then who will? I don't think anyone else would be able to step in and do anything about domestic violence.
Yeah. My threat is cohabitation and the effect on children. So I think that it would be good that the government got involved, but then I also see it being bad. But just because you can't force any couples not to live with each other, but I don't know. I could see it go either way. I mean, the government does have some control already, because if if you are living together but you're not married, one of the whoever's not really their parent, like for like same-sex couples, if one of them's not biologically or adopted by them, they can't take care of a child if something happens while they're in school.
Mm-hmm.
So now, is that good or bad? I mean, that's kind of bad just because now technically that's their parent. They should be able to take care of them. But that kind of supports the same-sex marriage, but we don't want that. So, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's a little more murky.
Yeah.
For mine, I have mothers in the workforce, and I think really that should be the choice of the family. I don't think the government should be really involved at all. I think it should be between the parent or the single parent, whoever that is, and they should decide what they want to do and where they would put their child. I don't know, just going back to the CRC that we talked about last week, the government wanted to make sure that all women were in the workforce because if they're at home, they're being oppressed, which I don't think is true, and I don't think that's the government's stipulation. I think that should be up to the individual what they want to do.
I agree with that in regards to getting, like, that women should have a choice whether they want to work or whether they don't. I do think that government incentives to make sure that women have equal rights in the workplace, I think that is important, but not, like you said with the CRC, that all women should be in the workplace, and like I don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
awesome. Is there anything else that we wanted to discuss?
No, did you guys notice like how much he quoted other people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he quote a lot?
I felt like he did. He kept like referring to different authors or people, or
Oh,
I felt like it was a lot because my husband was also listening to it, and he's like, geez, where he needs to get some original material or something like that.
that's funny.
Oh, really fast with the thing that Sister Meeker sent us, it said, what is at the heart of all, or what is at the heart of the challenges we face in this country? Did we already go over that?
I think so. I
I
think
think
when
we
we talked
did.
about just the general attitude that
Oh, right, right.
we have about not wanting to take responsibility and wanting other people to fix our problems and things like that.
That's right, we did. Um, did you want to recap it before we end?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. We had an awesome discussion, and we talked about various issues that we researched, including education, social security, and religion, and the way that government is involved with those. We talked about the problem that nobody wants to talk about. We decided that was the attitude that our society has in regards to wanting something for nothing, not wanting to work or to pay for things that we want, wanting someone else to take responsibility for that. And we talked about our opinions in regards to about setting aside a portion of your life for which the country is not responsible, and whether or not the government should be involved in the different threats to children and families. Anything else I left out?
Sounds good.
Good.
Awesome. And I just remembered we didn't say our names at the beginning. So, Cammie Orton.
Fernandy Dukes.
Lauren Buchan.
Cool. Okay. Well then I will see y'all next week.